In the early 2000s, economist Brian Caplan pioneered work seeking to explain seemingly irrational beliefs and behaviors with a series of academic papers and ultimately bringing it to the public in the myth of the rational voter. Economics generally assumes that agents are rational. Recent work, particularly macroeconomics, has been built on the rational expectations assumption. That is, in the aggregate, individuals' beliefs about the real world and their predictions about the future are as good as the predictions of the best models. The empirical evidence, however, shows that the best models and individuals can diverge significantly. For instance, economists are in wide agreement about the effects of wage and price controls, but the public generally believes differently. Now note, we're talking here about the practical consequences, what will happen, not the normative standard for judging what policymakers should do. Beyond this, around the world, people hold contrary political, ideological, religious, and philosophical beliefs that are mutually exclusive. On politics, for instance, the standard economic models suggest that voters would be rationally ignorant. That is, the cost of researching and understanding public policy is less than the benefit, since one is almost never a deciding vote. And people would admit to this ignorance, and when informed, be open to discussion and changing their minds. But what we end up with, in practice, that's not ignorance. Unfounded confidence, on the other hand. People on all sides fully convinced in their beliefs. These deviations from rational expectations consist of systemically biased, low information, but high certitude beliefs. So do we have to give up our hypothesis that humans believe and form beliefs rationally? Caplan argues not so fast. While there are substantial deviations from full rationality, the cost is often extremely low. The benefits are higher. Caplan argues that people have a bliss belief, the belief that brings them the highest utility. People want to believe that they're accomplishing much good for the world by voting for a particular person, or they can build community around political, religious, or even conspiratorial beliefs. But as the cost of irrationality increases, the quantity begins to fall. There's an implicit supply and demand for irrationality. In fact, Caplan goes on to suggest in a 2006 paper that many so-called mental illnesses are not really irrationality, but varying preferences. ADHD is a high disutility of work combined with a strong taste for variety. Antisocial personality disorder is, quote, exclusively about preferences for narrow selfishness, high discount rates, and affinity for violence. This is, of course, not universally true for all categories of mental illness by far, but it is useful to consider that some of the things we label as abnormal ailments may be more accurately understood as people with different preferences.